In 1948, the Nuremberg trials addressed the leaders of the Third Reich. The United States prosecuted a man named Otto Ambros, a chief chemist at the massive IG Farben chemical conglomerate. His conviction was for the use of thousands of prisoners from the Auschwitz III-Monowitz concentration camp as slave labor in his factories. He was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Accountability, though delayed, was established. However, barely 3 years later, in a move that directly contradicted the established Nuremberg principles, the U.S. government sought his expertise. Ambros was granted a secret political pardon. He was released from prison, brought to the United States, and immediately hired as an advisor to the U.S. Army Chemical Corps. This is Operation Paperclip. It represents a deliberate act by the American military and intelligence apparatus to violate standing immigration policy. The U.S. prioritized securing military and scientific dominance in the Cold War over the commitment to post-war justice. We will expose the Paperclip pipeline, tracing it from the underground tunnels of Mittelbau to the development of NASA's most powerful rockets. This is the classified history of policy compromise. The U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff had identified over 1,600 German scientists and technicians they deemed crucial. The challenge was that many were documented members of the SS Schutzstaffel or the SA Sturmabteilung. U.S. regulations and President Truman's directives strictly prohibited the immigration of these individuals. To circumvent this legal barrier, the highly secretive Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, or JIOA, was established. Its purpose was to reclassify the records of these personnel. The JIOA did not destroy the original documents. They created a separate, clean file. The name Operation Paperclip refers to the literal action of attaching the original dossier detailing SS rank or party membership to the back of a new file. The official immigration paperwork presented to Washington showed only a nominal or involuntary political affiliation, effectively masking the security risk. The highest profile individual in this program was Wernher von Braun. Von Braun held the rank of SS Sturmbannführer, Major, and was the chief architect of the V-2 ballistic missile. While his membership was not passive, the JIOA's new dossier characterized his SS affiliation as a functional necessity of his employment, portraying him as a valuable technical asset. The driving force behind this policy violation was the intense fear of the emerging Cold War. By 1947, the technological competition with the Soviet Union became paramount. Senator Harry F. Byrd publicly argued that surrendering invaluable knowledge due to ethical concerns would be a strategic error. The JIOA utilized this pressure to justify the ethical compromise. The program extended beyond rocketry to include experts in jet propulsion, synthetic fuel, and chemical weapons, creating a classified policy subtext to America's post-war technological development. The most significant ethical complication of Operation Paperclip centers on the Dora Mittelbau concentration camp and the underground Mittelwerk factory where the V-2 was manufactured. This connects von Braun's scientific achievements directly to human cost. The factory was built deep beneath the Konstein mountain. Prisoners, including political detainees, Soviet POWs, and others, were forced to excavate the tunnels, living and working under horrific conditions for 14-hour shifts. Historians estimate that of the roughly 60,000 prisoners sent through the Mittelbau camps, at least 20,000 died. The fatality rate for manufacturing the V-2 surpassed the number of people killed by the weapon itself. The German engineers had knowledge of the conditions. Arthur Rudolph, the V-2 production chief, explicitly recommended utilizing SS camp labor for the missile program in a 1943 memo. Von Braun himself chaired a meeting recommending underground production utilizing concentration camp labor. Records indicate von Braun was an active participant in procuring labor, documenting his 1944 trip to the Buchenwald concentration camp to personally select prisoners for work. While he later claimed limited knowledge, evidence confirms his continued involvement in the V2 program, despite the clear use of forced labor. Following the liberation of the Mittelwerk-Dora complex in April 1945, the U.S. military had already initiated Operation Overcast, the precursor to Paperclip, and transferred von Braun and his associates to the United States. When the Dora war crimes trial was held at Dachau in 1947, the U.S. Army Ordnance prevented von Braun from traveling to Germany to testify. His detailed knowledge of the slave labor regime was thus not available to the prosecution. The military subsequently used National Security Authority to classify the entire Dachau trial record related to Dora. This action effectively concealed von Braun's true level of complicity and the U.S. government's obstruction of justice. He went on to play a pivotal role in the U.S. Army's ballistic missile program and the development of the Saturn V rocket. The ethical compromises of Paperclip extended into chemical and medical fields. Ambros was the head of the Chemical Warfare Committee for the German Ministry of Armaments. His company, IG Farben, produced Zyklon B. His conviction at the Nuremberg IG Farben trial was for the enslavement and murder of thousands of workers at Auschwitz III-Monowitz. His subsequent pardon was based on his indispensability in chemical and synthetic production. His expertise, including nerve agents like sarin and tabun, was deemed vital. Ambros consulted for the U.S. Army and American corporations, representing a clear policy failure to uphold the accountability established by the Nuremberg Tribunal. The Paperclip trail included personnel linked to medical atrocities. Dr. Walter Schreiber was a Wehrmacht Major General and Scientific Director of the Wehrmacht Medical Academy, linked by Nuremberg evidence to human experimentation. In 1951, Schreiber was working at the U.S. Air Force School of Aviation Medicine in Texas. When a Boston newspaper exposed his past, citing his alleged involvement in human experimentation meetings, a campaign for his removal and prosecution began. The political scrutiny threatened to expose the entire Paperclip program. The Air Force, unable to justify his employment, acted decisively. The Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency arranged for Dr. Schreiber and his family to receive military air transport to Argentina, a known destination for post-war German fugitives. Instead of facing investigation, the U.S. military actively facilitated the relocation of a suspected war criminal. Operation Paperclip was the result of a severe internal conflict. Eleanor Roosevelt and Albert Einstein were vocal in their condemnation, viewing the program as a direct repudiation of Allied values. The U.S. State Department's representative in the JIOA, Samuel Klaus, also raised concerns about the scientists' loyalty and moral indifference. However, the dominant fear was the Soviet Union's Operation Osoaviakhim, which involved shipping entire German research facilities and personnel to the USSR. This competitive pressure provided the justification to override ethical dissent. The intelligence community, prioritizing technological advantage, prevailed over the prosecutors seeking justice. The personnel brought over by Paperclip became integral to U.S. military and aerospace development. Von Braun's work evolved into the Saturn V, powering the Apollo program and the 1969 moon landing. The foundation of this scientific achievement was built upon the systemic violation of U.S. policy and the evasion of war crimes justice for the V2's architects. The price included the estimated 20,000 deaths from forced labor at Mittelbau-Dora. The full details emerged only decades later, primarily through investigative journalism in the 1970s. Subsequent government hearings confirmed that military leaders had prioritized national security over justice. The legacy of Operation Paperclip illustrates how geopolitical fear can compel a democracy to compromise principles of accountability. The U.S. acquired scientific expertise, but at the cost of its ethical standing. The Saturn V is a testament to American ingenuity, but it is also tied to hidden policy compromises. Its conceptual foundation traces back to the Mittelwerk tunnels where forced labor occurred. The program created a unique legacy: the children of Paperclip. They grew up in America, often unaware that their fathers were former SS personnel and accused war criminals whose past was deliberately cleansed by the U.S. government. And when that classified past eventually emerged, it resulted in public scandal, official inquiries, and forced these American descendants to confront the painful legacy of their fathers and the ethical failures of U.S. policy. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep uncovering the classified truths history tried to hide, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update.